On today's Home Media Minefield, I'm going to be looking at the 1990 action-adventure film Total Recall, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. Coming up. Hello, I'm Keith and welcome to Home Media Minefield, helping you with information to navigate the complexities of home cinema and home media entertainment. And in today's episode, as I mentioned, I am going to be looking at Total Recall, the 1990 sci-fi action-adventure film starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, directed by Paul Verhoeven, based on a short story by Philip K. Dick. Now, I have already done an unboxing of the steelbook version of this, which you'll be able to find on this channel, but there is also a collector's edition available that includes the wonderful Jerry Goldsmith soundtrack along with a booklet and some art cards, etc. Now, I couldn't help myself. I have gone and ordered that also. Hopefully it will be here in time for Christmas, and when it does I will do a bonus unboxing episode so that you get a chance to look at the packaging, the booklet and the art cards that come with this. So stay tuned for that, but for now let's look at this Studio Canal 4K release. For this new 4K release by Studio Canal, they have done a 4K transfer from a scan from the original negatives, which was supervised by director Paul Verhoeven. Now obviously this is a 30-year-old film at this point, and it was shot on film, and the visual effects in this film were largely practical and optical effects. So it is very much a product of its age, both in its tone and its look. However, the image quality on this looks fantastic. Yes, some of the visual effects may not hold up by today's standards. However, I think that is a lot of the charm of this film, is the fact that even though it's a futuristic film, it is also kind of a product of its time and actually won Academy Awards for its visual effects. So the image on this is incredibly clear. You do see some film grain as a result, and there is the odd matte line around some of the visual effects, but generally this is the best it's ever looked. Because a portion of this film takes place on Mars, there is a lot of red in this film. Now that looked great in 1990 when it was projected on celluloid. However, many of the home media releases over the years, red can cause a lot of bleeding in colours. This was certainly the case when it was released on VHS originally, and some of the earlier DVD releases. However, this 4K HD image is very clear and it doesn't suffer from any bleeding on the red imagery. The high dynamic range also helps with this over and above the HD Blu-ray release that was previously available, insomuch as the contrast ratios between the bright reds and the black tones in this actually work very well. So for me, yes, it does show a few of the flaws, but this is literally the best this film has ever looked since it's been released on home media. Now in this 3-disc package, you do also get the film on Blu-ray also. That is a Region B locked Blu-ray disc, however. And you get some additional special features on a second Blu-ray disc that aren't on the 4K UHD disc. Now onto the audio. This also gets an audio upgrade with a Dolby Atmos track. And from what I could hear, the audio was indeed an improvement. Although not particularly dynamic in terms of separation, the dialogue was crisp and clean. Jerry Goldsmith's soundtrack really elevated the action in this film, and all of the audio effects worked. So again, compared to previous releases, not only do we get a picture upgrade, but we get a audio one as well. Now onto the special features with this release, and there are indeed some special features that have been ported across from previous DVD and Blu-ray releases, but there are also some newly produced extras on this. So first up, on the 4K UHD disc, you get an hour-long documentary called Total Excess: How Carolco Changed Hollywood, which is a fascinating documentary that looks into Carolco Pictures, who were the producer of Total Recall, amongst many other films. Carolco Pictures was run by Mario Kassir and Andrew Vejna, and this goes into detail about how they formed the company and started with First Blood, the first installment in the Rambo franchise, and how the Rambo franchise was very successful for them. It goes through their filmography from there, where they had hits and misses. Some of the films include Angel Heart, The Doors, Basic Instinct, which was also directed by Paul Verhoeven, the huge success of Terminator 2, right the way through to their demise with the film Cutthroat Island. Now, there are interviews on this with Paul Verhoeven, as well as the likes of Oliver Stone, Alan Parker and Michael Douglas, amongst others. For anyone who's interested in the film business side, this really is an interesting watch. Next up, we get a 21-minute featurette called Open Your Mind, Scoring Total Recall. And this is where a number of film historians and music journalists look at Jerry Goldsmith's contribution to this film. They talk about various aspects of the score in different areas of the film, and how one of the action cues actually runs with continual score for a total of 30 minutes, which is probably a record in filmmaking. Another new extra on this is an 8-minute featurette called Dreams Within the Dream, Developing Total Recall. And this is where Ron Miller, the conceptual artist, goes through many of his conceptual drawings and discusses them, and his conversations with Paul Verhoeven during the development of this film. It looks at everything from environments to vehicles to props that were all used and designed to show life on Mars, as well as futuristic technology and transportation. It's quite fun to see how some of those early conceptual drawings ended up being created into sets and props for the actual film. You also get a new trailer for the 4K restoration of Total Recall included on this disc. And that rounds it up for the new special features that are on the 4K UHD. Additionally, you also have the audio commentary by Paul Verhoeven and Arnold Schwarzenegger, which was originally recorded for the DVD release. Now, this was one where it was recorded with them both in the room watching the film at the same time, rather than individual recordings, and it is quite fun. They really do have a fun conversation about the making of this film and delve into many aspects of this, so it's well worth a listen. Sadly though, there are no new commentaries on this, just the one that was included on the earlier release. Now, the remainder of the special features are on disc 2 of the Blu-ray discs, and they really have what has been included on previous releases of the film on Blu-ray and DVD. So first up of those, you get a 20-minute featurette that was produced in 2010 called The Visual Effects of Total Recall. And this is where Mark Stetson and Tim McGovern discuss the visual effects that were used on this film. Now, one has to remember that a majority of the effects in this were actually practical and optical effects, using miniatures and matte paintings to create the environment. In some cases, video screens were actually built into miniatures to create scenarios where characters are looking out of a window at the Mars landscape, for example. Now, there was also some computer-generated effects and early motion capture done for the X-ray scenes that appear in the film, and they do go into some detail and tell some stories about how that was produced. All in all, even though this was made for the 20th anniversary release, I'm glad it was included on here. Next up, you get an 8-minute featurette which was produced in 1990 to help promote the film. This shows a lot of behind-the-scenes footage. This includes interviews with actors Arnold Schwarzenegger, Michael Ironside and Ronny Cox, as well as director Paul Verhoeven, special makeup effects creator Rob Bottin, and screenwriter Ronald Shusett. Now obviously this 1990 featurette is very much a product of its time and is quite brief. However, all of this is expanded on with the next featurette, which is a 2001 produced featurette, Imagining Total Recall, and runs for around 30 minutes. Now this contains interviews with all of the aforementioned individuals plus many other cast and crew members, and goes into a lot more detail about this process. Again, I think this was originally included on the DVD that came out in 2001. So again, it's great that they've ported it over for this release. And that about covers it. I don't think anything is missing from previous releases, although it's interesting that Studio Canal have less language and subtitle options available on this. But overall, with the improved picture and audio quality and some nice newly created special features, I think this is well worth the investment. As I mentioned before, this 3-disc set is available in a steelbook package as well as normal packaging, and there is actually a 5-disc collector's edition available which includes a 2-CD audio soundtrack of Jerry Goldsmith's music, as well as a poster booklet and some art cards. And as I said, I will be unboxing that as soon as it arrives. So that brings me to the end of another home media minefield. I hope you found this information useful and helpful. If you did, please like, subscribe and hit that bell icon so that you don't miss anything moving forward. I do home media reviews of releases past and present every week, but if there's anything in particular that you'd like me to look into, then please do put that in the comments down below and I will try and get to it. And likewise, if you've got any feedback or questions, please put that in the comments below. But until next time, I hope you enjoyed the ride, and I will see you at the next home media minefield. Thanks for now.